I don't know. I'm not getting the sound in both headphones. Is this giving a mono effect? I know my producer will jazz up the audio, but I don't know. Well, I'm afraid it's somehow going to come out to you guys where it's just in one ear. I don't think so. I didn't even probably have to say all this. No Fun, the Jen Kirkman podcast, episode 22, season 10. So it's really like episode 600 or something. I don't know. I'm in a little bit of I'm in a podcasting funk. I'm actually in a not a life funk, podcasting funk. We'll get to that in a minute. But guys, right now, the fact that I think nobody likes this podcast will have to wait because something more important is happening. There's new COVID in bats in Russia. Yeah. Okay, guys, I can't, here's what's going to happen. Two things are going on. There's a new variant that's not in the Omicron family. Okay. It's gone its own way. It's this rogue little actor. And it's already in Europe. So you know what that means. Come November, here comes to New York. And then everyone in California is going to be like, I don't see it around here. And we're going to be like, remember all the times when it goes from Europe to New York and then it gets to California after Christmas when you all fly out here and people fly out there. You're going to get it in January, February. I don't think so. And then it goes on and on. So here's the problem. 3% of America has gotten the new Omicron booster. That's not good. In case you're not a math person, I'll do the math for you. That's not 3% of 4 people. That's of 100%. So 3%, very low. So nobody's getting boosted, even though it is free and safe, and I have done it, and it's a game-changing booster. It will pretty much keep you pretty safe from all Omicron variants, even ones that haven't happened yet. And they say it has staying power for about a year, okay? This isn't the old Band-Aid boosters from last year. Now, here's the thing. There's already a new variant. Now don't go, oh, see, science doesn't know anything. Science knows everything. Science told you this would happen, but you don't remember. You don't remember because there's too much noise and news going on. And even liberal people who know better start parroting the talking points of Trump. Just like I say to all my liberal friends, oh, they hate Trump. They hate Trump. But guess what? The minute they were told they don't have to wear masks on a plane anymore, they took their mask off. Now, science didn't say that. A Trump appointed judge said that. And then the airlines followed suit. That was one Trump appointed judge, one whack job said, I'm lifting the mask mandate. And all the corporations were like, cool, that's good for business. And then you were like, I'm vaccinated. I don't have to wear my mask, knowing full well that because of the people that never got vaccinated in the first place, that your booster isn't good enough, it's good enough, but it's not enough protection to keep you from catching and passing on COVID. And you should really wear a mask on a plane. How do you not want to wear? By the way, as you know, I used to wear masks on planes before COVID. I was cool. I used to travel a lot for work. If I got something like even a cold, it would go respiratory. I would have to cancel dates. I'd lose my voice. You don't want to lose 2 months of work. That's how sick I would get. And then I'd have to go on these steroids, which kill your immune system. And then the whole thing just would keep spinning in on itself. I'd fly with like no immune system. I'd get sick. So I was masking. It was me and the old Asian ladies in the airport masking since the beginning of time. And honestly, when I used to mask pre-COVID, people would assume that you had a very contagious disease and they would stay away from me. They wouldn't get in my face and go, what are you wearing a mask for? I guess you don't like freedom. No. They would be afraid of me like I was a leper. Usually someone who wears a mask has some kind of personal autoimmune disorder that is not contagious. That's usually what wearing a mask means, like in a non-COVID world. Or they're just trying not to get a cold. I think very few people think to put a mask on because they're sick. But anyway, it was great. I mean, you put a mask on back then and the person in the seat next to you, they don't even want to know you. That was like you know who wore masks besides me and the old Asian ladies? Michael Jackson, okay? You were looked at as someone like Michael Jackson. Like he would wear a mask. Who knows why? But for most of the last years of his life, his nose was literally falling off because of all the surgery. And it was like putty that was just sort of hanging on there. And if you've ever had some kind of putty that you hang something on your wall with and it keeps falling and you're like, I'm too lazy to frame this. I mean, not me. Come on, I'm not a monster, but like maybe in my office wall or something, I'll stick something on it with like a putty and I'm like, this isn't sticking. I don't want to bother like finding a hammer and nail and get someone to, and it keeps falling. Like eventually I'm going to have to deal with this. That was Michael Jackson with his nose. It was made of putty. It kept falling off. He's probably thinking, eventually I have to deal with this. But for now, just put a mask on at the airport so I don't frighten anybody. I don't want to frighten the children. And so he had a mask on his face. And so people would react to me like, I don't know what's under there. Maybe her nose is falling off. I don't want to fucking know. Okay, now you have a mask on and you attract attention to yourself because people want to fight you for keeping them safe. So anyway, my point is that when it's just 3% of America, you know that, first of all, that the information is not getting out there. And that even the people that believe in science are like, well, forget it. We're all going to get it anyway. Do you guys know that is the wrong attitude? Do you understand something? I haven't even gotten to the topic, which is that they have found a new variant of COVID in bats in Russia. And that's not even the new variant that I'm talking about that's already here in people. Okay, there's two bad newses to give you. One of them's kind of funny because, bats, whatever. Before I get to that, I'm saying you people, you good liberals voting, we got to keep democracy. Yeah. Well, why didn't you get fucking vaccinated? Well, they're all going to get it. No. Do you understand that people are dying? Not because they got COVID and it killed them, but because they got it twice and they had a mild case and then suddenly they dropped dead of a heart attack. What do you think happened to Coolio? That's what happened to Coolio. I saw a girl on Twitter say that her neighbor across the hall, 28 years old, had a stroke, died alone in her apartment. That's not something that should happen until you're 88 or 98 these days with all the medicines out there. And that girl who died of a stroke at 28 had COVID multiple times, mild cases. So I don't mean to scare anybody. I'm sorry to scare the people out there who've had mild cases multiple times, but I'm hoping to scare the people that have that attitude. Oh, it's just mild. It's not a cold. It's literally a neurological virus, okay, that gives you, when your body fights it, it creates symptoms of a cold, but it is simply not just a cold. It gets into your heart and brain. Okay, do you understand this? It's vascular and neurological. It's psychotic. Do you understand? So you might have a mild case, but that means shit about what's really going on inside your body. Do you understand me? See, I've known this the whole time. Am I a genius? No, I just read something and knew that it was true. And everyone goes, well, I haven't seen that happening. Well, you dumb freak. It's because that's something that's not going to happen for a couple of years. Well, guess what? We're in the couple of years later zone right now, right? The whole thing started in 2020. It's almost 2023. So if you got COVID in like 2020 and 2021 and even 2022, now these people could be dropping dead. Not everybody, but it's a thing. And that's why you didn't see it 2 years ago, because not enough time had gone by for the thing to go all crazy in your neuropathways or your vascular whatevers. Okay. I'm just a podcaster. Don't take medical advice from me, but don't not. When a podcaster says don't take medical advice from them and it's like a Joe Rogan, don't take a supplement that he's telling you to take. I'm telling you, science says this is what this disease is, and you can go find the information. I don't mean do your own research. I mean, just Google the scientific information that exists. So I'm a podcaster who's giving you the truth, but maybe I'm not getting the words correct. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, this is why I get mad at everybody. And liberals, you can't look down your fucking nose anymore at conservative people, or if you don't like the word conservative, because that, this new Trump party that's full of QAnon people, that's not the conservative you used to know that your grandfather was. Okay. QAnon, right wing, whatever you want to call it, Trumpies. You can't look down your nose at them anymore if you won't get vaccinated because you're like, oh, we'll all just get it and it's fine. No. And I'm not even talking to the liberals that are the yoga moms that are kind of QAnon as well and don't believe in vaccines. Y'all freaks, I gave up on you a long time ago. you're just as bad as the QAnon. And there is a horseshoe where you're actually believing some of those things. You may not know it's been disseminated to you via QAnon kind of websites that then make their way down to like your weird yoga group page on Facebook, but they do. So you may think you're better than the Q people because you're not actually going to wherever QAnon does their thing. But then it's the people in the middle, the like good old fashioned democratic liberals, of which I am one, who, they'll text me, Jen, when is Trump going to prison? I'm like, I don't know. When are you going to stop going on planes without a mask? When is that? Because to me, it's like, you don't get to ask when Trump goes to prison if you're not wearing a mask on a plane. I know it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the other, but in my world, it does. Okay. So you're like, wow, you're coming in hot on this podcast, Jen, with nothing funny. Oh, I know. It's called no fun. It's not called have fun, take your mask off. It's called no fun. Okay, so the new variant, my point is, it's like something 7, and it's not in the Omicron family or Omicron or whatever you call it. It is its own thing. And the reason it got to get created is because not enough idiots got vaccines in the first 2 years. And so this thing morphed and metastasized and whatever, all the words, duplicated, replicated, created, whatever. It became its own thing and just kept doing its thing out there while we weren't looking. And it's evaded vaccines. So now we're playing catch up. And this is what the scientists were trying to warn us about. And you good people who, mocked everyone who didn't get a vaccine, you're too busy watching people sing We Are the World after 3 days of the pandemic, thinking you're a good person. And then, you're staying on top of things. And then a year goes by and you're tired of it. Oh, I'm over it. Oh, well, good for you. It's not over. So here's my point. So now it's evading vaccines. And it's not because vaccines suck. It's because people suck. Does that make sense? The vaccines are good. People are bad. People would not get the vaccine. If everyone had received the vaccine during the first wave of COVID, when it was still alpha, we never would have gotten Delta. If everyone had gotten the Delta vaccine, we probably never would have gotten Omicron. But at that point, if you didn't get the vaccine before Delta, we may have been too late then as well. So now we're playing catch up. We have to create, no, not me, but they have to create vaccines faster than this thing replicates. And that's not easy, and it may not be doable. And people don't realize this simple fact. And so then they go, science doesn't know anything. These vaccines don't work. They do. But y'all made them not work by taking your masks off and then some of you not getting vaccinated. Do you understand? If you don't understand, please walk into the sea. I really mean it. Walk into the sea. Now, I'm not telling you what to do from there. You can walk right out. This is not I'm not telling you to harm yourselves, but walk into the sea at least for a minute. It will be freezing and maybe it'll knock some sense into you. Or maybe a shark will get you because what with all of the hurricanes and other weather things, maybe there'll just be a shark right there nipping at your ankles. So I already know, I see it coming. My friend sent me a very early invitation to her holiday party with the sentiment of, I'm finally going to have one after all these years. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. That crazy new variant that the booster I just got that I was excited to get. Every time I get a booster, 5 minutes later, new variant coming, should be here in about 6 weeks. I'm like, perfect, just in time for the holidays. My holiday is going to get ruined for 2 reasons. Because my fellow Americans are going to let me down. First of all, I worry that they're not going to vote. See, there's more people that would vote Democrat than Republican in America. It's basically like 65-45. All of us won't vote. I want perfect things. Because no one actually understands that fascism is at our door. And everyone fancies themselves, if it were the Holocaust, I would be hiding Jews. You wouldn't. Watch Ken Burns's documentary, The U.S. and the Holocaust, and you will realize, I didn't realize how anti-Semitic. I mean, I'm going to sound stupid by saying I didn't realize how anti-Semitic the world in America was. I realized it, but I didn't realize the direct through line of our issues with being this hypocritical country of we're a nation of immigrants. parentheses, white ones, and even then, like certain white ones, but it's like, I didn't realize that that there was, this abject hatred. I mean, I knew there were prejudices and misconceptions and Jews were on the banks, but I mean, to be really so hateful that you're like, well, I don't want them to come here. I mean, I know that Hitler is, Americans didn't quite know the extent of what was going on, and it wasn't totally revealed until it was almost too late. But the sentiment was basically, we can't go to war to free the Jews in Poland and Germany, and because America doesn't want to do that. We have to make it something else. And so it's almost like, thank God we got bombed by Pearl Harbor, and thank God England got involved, because Americans wanted nothing to do with it. We were an isolationist country. And what the documentary does really well is it puts together things you already knew, right? But puts it all together that actually creates a whole new lens to look at this through. I mean, what's so shocking is, when Hitler was in prison before he became chancellor, and he was writing Mein Kampf, which means my struggle, he felt that America was like-minded because Americans had the government had just put out this really strict immigration policy where we really just kind of shut our borders to most people, except like we can have a very small amount of kind of like Nordic people emigrate to America. And we just, been in World War I, and our military, we weren't a superpower yet. Our military was in no shape to do anything. Americans were very disillusioned by World War I, and the country became isolationist. Like, I don't care what y'all doing in Europe or Africa or whatever, but it doesn't affect me and my, daily life and the loaf of bread and price of bread and, what's on the radio. So Godspeed over there, but we cannot get involved because it just takes too much of our resources and it kills our men. And no. And it wasn't no to war in the good way. It wasn't war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. It wasn't the kind of thing where you go, why were we in Iraq? Was it really to liberate people or to get oil? It wasn't that. It was, I don't like what war did. It wasn't the good kind of anti-war where it's like peace and love, man. It was like, I don't care if fascism is taking over the world. War, we don't want to get involved. Like, we don't care. It was like that kind of anti-war, which is like, even that most anti-war people, like, I'm anti-war, but you best believe right now, I'm like, Ukraine needs to crush Russia and Putin, because it's literally fascism. It's like an evil. It's like Stranger Things, it's like watching that show where it's like, all of these kids are great people, but at a certain point, you gotta murder Vecna, You don't go, I believe in murder. Well, what if it's going to take over the world? I don't think so. I still don't. Is it bad that I don't? So, where was I going with this? Oh God, the ADHD. Let's see if I can get it back. Oh, you got to watch the U.S. and the Holocaust. So, but while Hitler was in prison writing Mein Kampf, he thought America was this kind of like-minded country, isolationist and anti-immigration. And he basically said what the Americans did to the Indians, to the now we call Native Americans, that's where he got the idea, folks. So there's no America's the greatest country in the world and we went over and we freed everybody, ish. But the guy that did it, he got his ideas from us. You know what I'm saying? It's like a snake eating its tail. And that's terrifying when you think, and you go, well, I didn't murder the Native Americans. Well, I know. None of us actually did it, but it came from this country. And so if Hitler was inspired by us slaughtering Native Americans and taking over, don't you think that it goes to reason that the fact that that is how this country started, America, that it does influence us in ways we don't realize. Does that make sense? Like, we can't say, oh, well, I personally, and no one in my, family tree murdered any Native Americans. I mean, I would never do that. But I also don't want anyone, immigrating here that's running from fascism. It's like, well, where did you get that sort of me first kind of whites only attitude? Do you think it's built into the soil you breathe? I know we don't breathe soil. Anyway, so it's just hard to be like, oh, like Hitler was influenced by the slaughter of Native Americans, but I wasn't. It's like, well, you might not start a genocide thinking it's a good idea, but it's definitely, we're all influenced by that in ways that when we're tested, do we really come through for each other? And I believe what I actually liked about this documentary, as fucked up as this sounds, is that I knew America didn't want to get into the war, but I really thought America knew way less about what was going on than I just learned. And I realized that was a stupid thought because, of course, we have spies and intel, and we knew what was going on, or at the very least, the government did. And the government knew it couldn't intervene because it wouldn't be popular. And it wouldn't be popular because Americans were racist and isolationist and anti-immigration. Do you understand? So it's like, and Mrs. Franklin Roosevelt's wife was like, she was appalled at Americans. She was like, guys, I feel like I'm doing a drunk history. She was like, guys, what the fuck? But anyway, so my whole point in saying all that is I feel my Americans are going to let me down. I'm worried about the November elections, which if Republicans even just take the House, that can be the beginning of the end of democracy. And we told you when it would be we told you when Roe would be overturned, and you were like, no, it won't. We've been right about everything, all of us alarmists. Okay. So I'm worried that that's going to ruin my holidays, a little mild fascism to, on the rise to ruin my holidays. And then also it's going to be ruined by this new variant. And that's because y'all won't vote and you won't get vaccinated. The 2 V's, vote and vaccinate. You won't do it. Both are free. Both are free. You won't do it. God, I'm mad at it. I'm mad. So anyway, because I know my holidays are going to be ruined by people who don't give a shit about other people. And they're going to have no idea that collectively they were part of that. Oh, God. Anyway, so this is real. It's on everything that you can find news on. Well, you know what? The free portion of the show is over.